Back here talking NBA, how about the Clippers? Report leaked out late last night that the Clippers are among the teams trying to trade for Thunder vet point guard Chris Paul. Also part of the report that Kawhi is actively recruiting CP3 as the trade talks continue. Broussard back with us now. Broussard, obviously the Clippers woefully disappointed in the playoffs last season. I would imagine adding a vet like CP3 would help. How good would the Clippers be with him on the team?
Oh, they would be fantastic. They probably become the favorites. I mean, simple as that. Chris Paul, they need a playmaker. They need a higher basketball IQ. Kawhi said that. And Chris Paul obviously would bring that. So with that big three, with Kawhi, Paul, and Paul George, oh, they are the favorites. There's no question about it. It would be great for the league because you think the Lakers-Clippers last year was anticipated and was this quote-unquote rivalry which never really developed. This year, if they got Chris Paul, it would go to the highest level possible. And now, I don't think it's likely. I won't say impossible, but it's not likely. But, yeah, if they could get Chris Paul with those two, George and Kawhi, they're the team to beat.
Absolutely. This is must-see TV if they can make this happen. You know, you think about the two things that the Clippers need. They need an alpha male leader. When they bring in a guy like this, if they can bring in a guy like this, they need to ship out those guys who aren't buying into Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Not because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they're those guys. It's because you built the entire program around those guys. So if you're not buying in, you got to go. So this dude brings that leadership on the court and also in the locker room to keep it together because they didn't have that last year. And he also brings that extra scoring option that they didn't have when Paul George disappeared. So this is really good for the Clippers, and this is not a good thing for your Lakers, Nick.
Yeah, okay, well, then luckily for me, this has a 0% chance of happening. First of all, there is no way for this to happen financially. I know I'm the only one that when we talk about these trades cares about things like the salary cap and the rules, but in order for this to happen, you would have to trade away Paul George. That's first of all. Second of all, list of people in the country most incentivized for the Clippers to stink. Number one, me. Number two, Sam Presti. The Thunder own the Clippers' entire draft, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. They get those picks. What they want is for next year the Clippers to fail, Paul George or Kawhi leave, and they have those draft picks. Oh, I left out 2022. They have the Clippers 5 first-round picks from 2022 till 2026. So that's that's second of all. But then I have a question for my old buddy Chris Broussard. Broussard, what happened to Kawhi Leonard not wanting a super team? I'm old enough to remember the whole world. Oh, Kawhi could have taken the easy way. Could have joined LeBron and Anthony Davis. But no, he took his Saucony shoes to Inglewood, and he's going to build a dynasty with the Clippers. Saucony. And after a year, I think they are actually Sauconys. After a year, it's like, oh, man, this is hard. It reminds me an awful lot like Kevin Durant, who was sending out tweets. Whoa, now everyone wants to join the Heat. What happened to going against these guys? Oh, wait, this is hard. Come save me, Steph Curry. It's always easy to say, I'd never join a super team. And then you get hit in the head by a better team, and you're like, nah, let's try to create a super team. So what happened to that, Broussard? I'm just curious. Like, I thought that was Kawhi's thing. I'm going to do it on my own with Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan.
I'll answer it quickly. All right, he didn't want to be the third guy on the super team, all right, which is what he would have been with the Lakers.
He's not as good as LeBron.
So now he is still the lead guy. He's still the lead guy with the Clippers. And here's the thing, even if he has come to this revelation of, I want a super team, that doesn't make him any different from LeBron and Kevin Durant, the two best players of this generation. So what? What? That's an insult to Kawhi? No. And he was always he wanted to play with George. He didn't want to go to the Clippers by himself. So he never was like, I'm going to do it by myself. He would have been with the Lakers had he not been able to get George to L.A. with the Clippers.
Got it. Okay, got it.
You just took that as an opportunity to take shots at my man.
I'm not totally buying the Sam Presti, Chris Paul thing. I think it makes sense when you look at it. analytically and you look at their bevy of draft picks. But I think if Chris Paul and Sam Presti sat down and was like, hey, my family's in LA. I'd really like to go back to LA. I have sort of unfinished business with Lob City 2.0. Can you move me to LA? I don't think Sam Presti would be like, hold on, we've got the draft picks in 2024. And I know you sort of gave your heart and soul to this team this year, and we have so many draft picks. I really want to, instead I'm going to send you to Phoenix, and it's a short flight to LA. I don't think we have any evidence of Sam Presti not acquiescing or not trying to do a solid for guys that he's in agreement with.
Okay, well then Sam Presti's terrible at his job. He's not trying to win Mr. Congeniality. He's trying to win a championship. The Clippers have no assets to give back. Unless you're trading Paul George, then what are you getting? You're getting Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, Zubac. No picks. They already got all the picks.
I said, Nick, it's adorable. I blew out the word adorable. All right, let's get back to the NBA now. Once every season, and clearly 15 times a show, I get to say this. Houston, we got ourselves a problem. Now my quota is filled, Nick. Couple of bombshell reports yesterday from the Rockets organization. You got Russell Westbrook reportedly wanting out of Houston after just one season as James Harden's running mate. Meanwhile, also reported, Harden remains locked in for the upcoming season. Chris Broussard joining us now. All right, Broussard, what do you make of what's going on out there in Houston?
It's predictable. It's predictable. Look, Russell Westbrook became not only a perennial all-star, not only a first ballot Hall of Famer, but an iconic figure because of the triple-doubles. He did something no one else in the history of basketball at any level on any continent has ever done. And he did it playing one way, having the ball in his hands, making the decisions for the offense, doing it his way, right? To his credit, he went to Houston and said, we're going to try to win a championship. I'm willing to play differently. This is not my team. I'll be the second guy. If you want me to stand by the three-point line and try to be a catch-and-shoot guy, I'll do it. He tried it, and it didn't work. And now the natural inclination of anyone who's been that successful doing it one way, when it doesn't work the other way, is to say, you know what? I tried it your way. Now let's change things up. We don't necessarily have to do it my way, but certainly let's move the needle to, we're not doing it the old way. And Harden's not willing to do that. And Westbrook also in the organization, right? He saw no one's willing to tell James, you got to switch things up a little bit. Let's change it up. Make it more you and Russ than just you and then Russ coming after you. And he saw no one was willing to do that before. Now is he going to trust a rookie GM and a rookie head coach to do it?
True.
No, so I get where Russ is coming from, and I think it's quite predictable.
Yep. You know what the funny part is, Broussard? Russ's usage rate was still top 5 in the league, so it's not like he didn't have the ball in his hands. It makes me think that's more of like a culture fit, and just like Russ was demanding accountability, and it just wasn't there. So it's time to move Russ out. And where should he go? Oh, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. If anybody wants to join in, we can get sued. Okay, here's 3 reasons why Russ should go to New York. And I know, Kevin, he's not going to get a ring. He doesn't need a ring. Need to make the playoffs. Haven't made the playoffs since 2013. So for a personal goal, make an all-star team. As futile as the Knicks have been, they always had all-stars. Melo was making the all-star team. Porzingis made it. Tyson Chandler, Amari made it. Oh, whose music is that? It's an acoustic guitar. David Lee even made it a few times. Actually, just once. Number 3, this is my personal favorite. The grudge goal. Stop Kevin Durant's New York City takeover. This is the first time in a long time that the Nets have a real chance at taking mind share away from the New York Knicks. You're like, I don't know about that. How do you judge mind share? I'm glad you asked. The Christmas Day game which will also be kind of like a de facto opening night of the season since we're starting on the 22nd. The Knicks own that game. They played it more than anyone else. Last year, the league was like, stay home, open some presents. They played it 53 times, and they didn't get it last year, and that proves that their star. But if we had a Christmas Day game, Nets versus Knicks, the Knicks' relevancy back up, and that's important as you start to get a new generation of fans who haven't been